The shuttle landed with a soft hum on the docking platform of the Galactic Academy of Relations. Maya pressed her face against the small window and watched as the massive station came into view. It was beautiful in a way that made her heart ache. Towers of silver and gold stretched toward the stars. Bridges of light connected floating buildings. Ships of every size and color moved through the purple nebula that surrounded the station like a protective blanket. She was the first human to ever set foot in this place, the first student from Earth, the first representative of a Class 12 to be accepted into the most famous academy in the known galaxy. Maya was 17 years old. She had brown eyes, black hair that she kept tied back in a simple ponytail, and a smile that she had learned to hide because it scared people. On Earth, showing teeth meant happiness. In the rest of the galaxy, it meant you wanted to eat someone. The shuttle doors opened. A wave of cold, recycled air washed over her. It smelled strange, clean in a way that felt wrong. On Earth, air smelled like life, like trees and rain and dirt and 1,000 other things that reminded you the planet was alive. Here, the air smelled like nothing at all. A tall creature waited for her at the end of the platform. It had 4 arms, skin, and eyes that sat on the sides of its head like a horse. A translator device hung around its neck on a silver chain. "You are the human," it said. The translator made its voice sound flat and mechanical. "I am Maya," she replied. "Thank you for having me." The creature looked at her for a long moment. She could see the fear in its eyes even though it tried to hide it. She had seen that look many times since Earth had made contact with the galactic community 5 years ago. Every species looked at humans the same way, like they were looking at a monster wearing the skin of a person. She understood why. She had read her own planet's file in the galactic database. It was not pleasant reading. Earth was listed as a Class 12. The scale only went to 15, and anything above 10 was considered too dangerous for colonization. Earth sat comfortably in the death zone. The file described a planet where water fell from the sky in sheets heavy enough to crush small creatures, where the ground shook and split open without warning, where mountains exploded and covered entire regions in burning rock, where massive storms of spinning wind tore across the land and destroyed everything in their path. But the planet itself was not the worst part. The worst part was what lived on it. Earth's file contained over 10 million documented species of life. Most of them wanted to kill you. There were creatures with poison in their skin, in their teeth, in their blood. There were plants that ate animals. There were insects that laid eggs inside living hosts. There were microscopic organisms that could invade your body and turn your own cells against you. And then there were the humans. The file described humans as persistent predators. This meant they did not chase their prey and catch it quickly like most hunters. Instead, they followed their prey for hours, sometimes days. They walked and walked and walked while their prey ran and ran and ran. And eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion, and the humans would catch up, and they would eat it. Humans could survive almost anywhere on their death planet. They lived in frozen wastelands where the temperature dropped low enough to kill most galactic species in minutes. They lived in burning deserts where there was no water for hundreds of miles. They lived on tiny islands surrounded by endless poisonous salt water. They even lived on top of mountains so high that there was barely enough air to breathe. They ate everything: plants, animals, fungi, sometimes each other in the old days. Their bodies could process foods that would kill other species. They drank the fermented poison of rotting plants for fun. They ate capsaicin, a chemical weapon that plants evolved specifically to stop things from eating them, and they called it spicy and asked for more. They healed from injuries that would kill other beings. They could lose limbs and survive. They could be cut open and sewn back together. Their bones could break and mend themselves stronger than before. They could keep fighting long after any reasonable creature would have died. And worst of all, they bonded with things. They took dangerous predators into their homes and called them pets. They formed emotional attachments to machines and plants and even rocks. Once a human decided something was theirs, they would protect it with the same fierce determination they used for their own children. Maya knew all of this. She knew the galaxy was afraid of her species, and she knew that she had to be very, very careful not to prove them right. The four-armed creature led her through the station. They passed through corridors filled with students of every shape and size. She saw beings made of crystal that chimed when they moved. She saw serpents with arms and intelligent eyes. She saw floating spheres of light and walking plants and things she had no words for. And every single one of them moved away when she walked past. The whispers followed her like shadows. That is the human. From the Death Planet. Did you see her teeth? I heard they eat flesh. I heard they drink blood. I heard they can run for days without stopping. Maya kept her eyes forward and her mouth closed. She had learned this lesson early. Do not smile. Do not make sudden movements. Do not show that you can hear them. She was taken to a building called Dormitory 7, Integration Wing. The creature explained that this was where students from challenging backgrounds were housed. The word challenging was clearly a polite way of saying dangerous or unwanted. Her room was small but comfortable. A bed that was slightly too short for her, a desk with a computer terminal, a window that looked out at the stars, and a second bed on the other side of the room where her roommate was supposed to sleep. But the other bed was empty. The sheets had been stripped. The personal belongings that had been there were gone. The creature noticed her looking. Your assigned roommate requested a transfer, it said, after reviewing your file. Maya nodded slowly. I understand. She did understand. She was used to being alone. She had been alone since the moment Earth made contact with the galaxy, and the galaxy learned what humans really were. She sat down on her bed and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of miles away, her home planet was spinning through space. Her family was there, her friends, everything she had ever known. She had left it all behind to come here, to prove that humans could be more than monsters, to prove that her species deserved a place in the galactic community. She hoped she was strong enough. She hoped she was kind enough. Mostly, she hoped she would not have to show anyone what she was really capable of. Because Maya was a daughter of Earth, and daughters of Earth were very, very good at surviving. 3 weeks passed at the Galactic Academy of Relations. Maya learned the layout of the station quickly. Her brain mapped the corridors and rooms and shortcuts without her even trying. It was an old instinct. Her ancestors had survived by knowing their territory better than anything that wanted to eat them. She attended her classes. Xenobiology was her favorite. She sat in the back of the room and took careful notes on the anatomy of dozens of species. The professor, a floating sphere of blue light named, found her questions disturbing but could not deny they were intelligent. Why do you want to know where the major arteries are located? Asked her once. Understanding how a body works helps you understand how to keep it healthy, Maya replied. This was true. It was also true that knowing where arteries were located helped you know where to cut if you wanted something to bleed very quickly. But Maya did not say this part out loud. She ate her meals alone in the dining hall. The academy had tried to provide Earth food for her, but they did not understand that humans could eat almost anything. She was happy with whatever they gave her. The other students watched her eat with a mixture of horror and fascination. She chewed her food thoroughly, as humans did, and they stared at her teeth moving up and down like they were watching a predator tear apart prey. She spent her evenings in the common area of Dormitory 7. There was a large viewport there that showed the purple nebula outside, and comfortable chairs arranged in small groups. She always sat in the same corner, in a soft chair that let her see all the entrances and exits at once. Another old instinct: never sit with your back to a door. She read her textbooks and pretended not to notice everything that happened around her. But she always noticed. By the end of her first week, Maya had mapped the social structure of the academy. It was not complicated. The strong ruled, the weak obeyed, the adults looked away. At the top of this structure there were the four-armed skinned species that had greeted her on her first day. They were large by galactic standards. Most of them stood nearly 7 feet tall. They had thick muscles and heavy bones and a natural confidence that came from never meeting anything they could not intimidate. There were many students at the academy, but one group stood above the rest. 5 of them, led by a male named X. His family owned 17 mining colonies across the galaxy. He had never been told no in his entire life. X and his friends had a game. Every few days they would choose a target, someone small, someone weak, someone who did not have powerful family connections to protect them, and they would make an example of them. Maya watched it happen for the first time at the end of her second week. The target was a young named Al. They were crystalline beings, beautiful and fragile. Their bodies were made of living crystal that grew in delicate patterns. They communicated partly through the sounds their crystal plates made when they moved. When they were happy, they chimed like bells. When they were afraid, they crackled like ice. Al was crackling now. They had cornered her in a hallway near the science wing. Maya was walking back from the library when she heard the sounds. She stopped at the corner and watched. "Your family thinks they can bid against us for the tertian mineral rights," X was saying. His translator made his voice sound like grinding stones. "They need to learn their place." "Please," Al said. Her voice was high and thin. "I have nothing to do with business matters." "No, but your family cares about you. And when they see what happens to you, they will understand who they are dealing with." X reached out with one of his 4 hands. His fingers wrapped around one of the delicate crystal plates that grew from Al's shoulder, and he squeezed. The sound that Al made was not words. It was the sound of cracking ice and breaking glass and pure terror all mixed together. The crystal plate shattered under X's grip. Shards fell to the floor like frozen tears. Maya's hands curled into fists at her sides. They laughed. X grabbed another plate, and another. 3 plates broken in total before he let the young crumple to the ground. "Tell your family," he said. "Tell them what happens when they forget their place." Then they walked away. They passed within 10 feet of Maya but did not see her standing in the shadows. She had learned to be invisible when she needed to be. She went to Al. The young was curled on the floor, making sounds that were too quiet for the translator to pick up. Maya kneeled beside her. "Can you walk?" she asked. Al looked up. Her eyes, which were the deep blue of Earth's oceans, went wide when she saw who was talking to her. "You are the human," she whispered. "I am Maya. Can you walk? I will take you to the medical wing." Al flinched away. "Please do not eat me." Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. She was used to fear, but this was different. This girl had just been attacked and brutalized, and she was still more afraid of Maya than she was of the beings who had actually hurt her. "I do not eat people," Maya said gently. "I am a student just like you. Let me help you." Slowly, carefully, she helped Al to her feet. They leaned on her as they walked to the medical wing. She was light, so light that Maya could have carried her with one arm. On Earth, she would have been considered impossibly fragile. A strong wind might knock her over. A careless touch might break her. How did beings like this survive? Maya wondered. And then she remembered. They survived because the galaxy was not Earth. Most of the galaxy was safe and gentle and kind. It was only Earth that was a nightmare of constant danger. It was only humans who had been forged in the fire of endless violence. The medical staff took Al away. Maya was not allowed to follow. She was not family. She was not even the same species. She walked back to her dormitory alone. That night, she could not sleep. She lay in her bed and stared at the ceiling and thought about what she had seen. There were bullies, but they were more than that. They were predators. They chose weak targets. They attacked without warning. They used fear to control everyone around them, and no one stopped them because their families were too powerful. On Earth, there were predators like this too, and humans had learned long ago what to do about them. But Maya was not on Earth anymore. She was a guest here, an outsider, a monster that the galaxy tolerated but did not trust. She could not afford to make enemies. She could not afford to prove that humans were exactly as dangerous as everyone feared. So she would do nothing. She would watch and wait and hope that someone else would solve the problem. She told herself this was the right choice. She almost believed it. Over the next week, she watched them more carefully. She memorized their schedules. She noted which areas they controlled. She observed their behavior patterns. She learned their names, X, K, and she studied their biology in her xenobiology textbook. She learned about their circulatory system, their nervous system, their pressure points and vulnerabilities. Just in case, she told herself. Just in case someone asked her to help. Just in case she needed to protect herself. Just in case. Deep down in the quiet part of her mind where the old instincts lived, she knew the truth. She was not preparing to defend herself. She was preparing to hunt. Because Maya was a daughter of Earth. And when daughters of Earth saw predators hurting the innocent, they did not look away. They waited for the right moment. And then they struck. It happened on a Tuesday, by Galactic Standard Time. Maya was in the common area of Dormitory 7, sitting in her usual chair by the viewport. The purple nebula swirled outside like a living thing. She had a tablet in her hands and was reading about the nervous systems of different species. She looked peaceful, calm, completely focused on her studies. But underneath that calm surface, she was aware of everything. She heard the footsteps before she saw them. Heavy footsteps, 4 sets of them. The kind of footsteps that belonged to beings who had never learned to walk quietly because they had never needed to hide from anything. The common area had been busy a moment ago. Students of different species had been scattered across the room, talking and studying and relaxing after a long day of classes. But when those footsteps started coming closer, everything changed. The by the window suddenly remembered they had somewhere else to be. The group of near the door gathered their things and left without a word. A pair of small floating creatures that Maya did not know the name of simply vanished, moving so fast they seemed to disappear. Within 30 seconds, Maya was alone. She did not look up from her tablet. She kept reading. Her heartbeat stayed steady. Her breathing stayed slow. She turned a page on her tablet and learned about the 17 major circulatory junction points in the body. The footsteps stopped directly in front of her chair. A shadow fell over her tablet. It was a large shadow, the kind of shadow that belonged to someone nearly 7 feet tall with 4 arms and skin and eyes that had never known fear. Maya looked up. X stood before her. His 3 companions, K and flanked him on either side. They had arranged themselves in a formation that blocked all the exits, a hunting formation, a predator formation. They thought they were the hunters here. Maya almost smiled. She stopped herself just in time. Human, X said. His translator gave his voice a grinding quality like stones being crushed together. You have been watching us. Maya set her tablet down on her lap. She did not stand. She did not tense. She just looked at him with the same calm expression she always wore. I watch everything, she said. It is a habit. A dangerous habit. X took a step closer. His species communicated threat through proximity. The closer they got, the more dominant they were showing themselves to be. On this station, small creatures learn to look away when they see us. That is interesting, Maya said. Her voice was polite, curious, like she was discussing the weather or a particularly fascinating textbook. Is this a formal social interaction? I have been studying customs. Is there a specific protocol I should follow? X blinked. He was not used to this. Usually by now his targets were shaking, crying, begging. The human was doing none of these things. She was just sitting there looking at him like he was something mildly interesting that she had found on the ground. "This is not study," he growled. He reached out with one massive hand and knocked the tablet from her grip. It flew across the room and clattered against the far wall. "This is education." Maya watched her tablet skid to a stop. Then she turned back to X. Her hands rested loosely on the arms of her chair. Her posture was relaxed. Her expression had not changed. "I see," she said quietly. "You are the ones who hurt that girl. Al, she is in my xenobiology section. We sit near each other sometimes." X laughed. It was a harsh sound like metal scraping against metal. "The crystal insect, she broke easily, they all do. Every species breaks when you apply enough pressure." He leaned down, bringing his face closer to hers. His breath smelled like copper and chemicals. "What will you do? I have read your file. It says you are dangerous. But I see a small thing sitting in a chair. Will you run away? Will you scream for help? Will you beg like all the others?" Maya looked at him, really looked at him. On the surface, she was still calm, still relaxed, still the picture of a harmless young student who had been caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But something changed in her eyes, something ancient and cold and patient, something that had been passed down through 1,000 generations of ancestors who had survived on a world that wanted them dead. Something that had hunted and killed and eaten things far more dangerous than with a bad attitude and rich parents. The other felt it before they understood it. Their instincts, dulled by generations of comfortable living, suddenly woke up and started screaming. Something was wrong. Something was dangerous. They were not the predators in this room anymore. But X was too confident to feel it. He had never been afraid in his life. He did not recognize the feeling now. "No," Maya said. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. "I do not think I will run. I do not think I will scream. And I definitely will not beg." "Then what will you do?" X demanded. Maya tilted her head slightly. It was a small movement, almost casual. But there was something about it that made Kay take a step backward without realizing he was doing it. "I think I will sit here," Maya said, "and I think we will have a conversation. And I think by the end of that conversation, you will understand something very important." "And what is that?" Maya's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, just a hint of one, just enough to show a flash of her teeth. "You will understand why the galaxy is afraid of my species," she said. "And you will understand that the galaxy is right to be afraid. And you will understand that you have made a terrible mistake by coming here today." X stared at her. For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. It might have been doubt. It might have been the first tiny seed of fear. But then he crushed it down. He was X. His family owned 17 mining colonies. He had never lost a fight. He had never backed down from a challenge. He was not going to let some small, soft creature from a backwater death planet talk to him like this. "You are insane," he said. "You are sitting in a chair, surrounded by 4 warriors, and you think you can threaten us." "I am not threatening you," Maya said. "I am explaining what is about to happen. There is a difference. The only thing that is about to happen is that I am going to teach you respect." X reached for her with one of his upper hands. His fingers were thick and strong, designed for crushing rock and bending metal. "I am going to show you what happens to small creatures who forget their place in this galaxy." His hand was almost touching her shoulder. Maya moved. And everything changed. Maya did not stand up. She did not need to. Her hand moved in a blur. It was not fast by human standards. Any athlete on Earth could have matched the speed. But to the who had evolved on a gentle low-gravity world with no natural predators, it was like watching lightning strike. Her fingers found the inside of X's wrist, the exact spot where junction point 7 connected the primary circulatory system to the motor cortex. She pressed down, not hard, just enough. The effect was immediate. X's arm stopped working. It did not hurt. It simply ceased to exist as far as his brain was concerned. The signals from his motor cortex hit the blocked junction point and vanished into nothing. His arm fell to his side like a dead weight. He stared at it in confusion. His arm had never disobeyed him before. Maya's fingers shifted. She found a second point just above the first and pressed again. X's legs gave out. He crashed to his knees with a heavy thud that shook the floor. His secondary arms windmilled wildly as he tried to catch himself. His face was now level with Maya's. She was still sitting in her chair. She had not moved except for her one hand, which still rested gently against his wrist. "The circulatory system," Maya said in a conversational tone, "routes blood through 17 major junction points. Your species evolved in low-gravity environments with minimal natural predators, so you never developed protective structures around these points. Junction Point 7, which I am currently compressing, feeds blood to your primary motor cortex. When I block it, your brain cannot send signals to your muscles." She shifted her fingers slightly. X made a sound that he had never made before. It was high and thin and desperate. It was the sound of a creature that was realizing, for the first time in its life, that it was not at the top of the food chain. "I learned this from my xenobiology textbook," Maya continued. "It is fascinating, really. Every species has these kinds of vulnerabilities. Most of them just never have to worry about it because most of the galaxy is safe and gentle and kind." K moved. He was the second largest of and he had finally shaken off his shock enough to try to help his leader. He lunged forward, all four arms reaching for the human who had disabled X. Maya did not even look at him. Her free hand moved. A single strike, precise and controlled, to a point just below K's central thorax. It was the location of this primary respiratory nerve cluster. The textbook had been very clear about what happened when you hit it. K dropped. He lay on the ground, gasping for breath, unable to draw air into his lungs. He was not suffocating. The effect would wear off in a few minutes. But for now, he was completely helpless. Two disabled in less than 3 seconds. And Maya was still sitting in her chair. And did not move. They stood frozen, staring at the human with expressions that mixed confusion and terror in equal measure. Their brains were trying to process what they had just seen. Their instincts were screaming at them to run. "On Earth," Maya said, "we evolved alongside creatures that wanted to eat us, not compete with us for resources, not establish dominance over us, actually eat us, consume our flesh, digest our bodies. We were prey before we were predators." She looked at the two remaining. Her brown eyes were calm and steady. There was no anger in them, no hatred, just patient, focused attention. "We survived because we learned. We learned where to run. We learned where to hide. We learned where to strike. We learned the anatomy of every creature that hunted us, and we learned exactly how to make them stop." X was trying to speak. His translator garbled his words into meaningless static. His secondary arms were twitching as his brain fought desperately to regain control of his body. Maya released her grip on his wrist. Feeling began to flood back into his arm and legs. It came as pins and needles, sharp and uncomfortable, as his circulatory system resumed normal function. He collapsed forward, catching himself on his secondary arms. He was breathing hard. His skin had gone pale. "I am going to explain something to you now," Maya said, "and I want you to listen very carefully because I will not explain it twice." She waited until X looked up at her. His eyes were wide. The confidence that had always filled them was gone, replaced by something new, something he had never felt before. "Fear. You will not hurt anyone at this academy again," Maya said. Not any of the small, gentle species that you have been terrorizing. You will apologize to every student you have victimized. You will pay for Al's medical treatment. You will treat every being in this station with respect." And if we refuse, managed. His voice was higher than he would have liked. His translator picked up the tremor in it. Maya finally smiled. It was a small smile, gentle almost, but her teeth showed, white and flat and strong. Teeth designed for biting through meat and cracking through bone. Teeth that had evolved to tear and rend and consume. The flinched. Then I will stop being gentle, Maya said. What I just did to your friends was not violence. It was a demonstration. I have not raised my heart rate. I have not activated my adrenal system. I have not accessed any of the actual combat training that humans receive on Earth. She tilted her head. That small, predatory movement that made something ancient in this brain scream danger. Do you know what we teach human children before they are allowed to play outside alone? We teach them how to survive attacks from predators. We teach them where to strike a wild animal to make it stop attacking. We teach them how to fight off creatures with claws and teeth and poison. By the time a human child is 10 years old, they know more about violence than most galactic species learn in a lifetime. She paused, let the words sink in. I am 17 years old. I have had 17 years of training, 17 years of learning how to hurt things that are bigger and stronger than me, 17 years of learning how to survive on a planet that was actively trying to kill me every single day. Kay had finally caught his breath. He pushed himself up onto his secondary arms and stared at the human with naked terror. What I did to you today was the gentlest thing I know how to do, Maya said. It was the absolute minimum amount of force required to make my point. I did not break anything. I did not cause any permanent damage. I did not even stand up. She leaned forward slightly, just a few inches, but it felt like she was suddenly taking up the entire room. Would you like to see what happens when I try? Silence. The kind of silence that exists in the moment before a predator strikes. The kind of silence that every prey animal in the galaxy has learned to recognize. They did not move, they did not speak, they barely breathed. I thought not, Maya said. She leaned back in her chair. Her posture relaxed. The predatory energy that had filled the room faded, replaced by the calm, harmless demeanor she usually wore. You can go now, she said. And remember what I said, no more hurting people, no more making examples, no more games. X climbed slowly to his feet. His legs were shaking, his arms were shaking, everything was shaking. He looked at Maya one last time. The small human girl sitting in her chair by the viewport, watching the purple nebula swirl outside. She looked so harmless, so ordinary, so weak. But he would never be able to unsee what was underneath that surface. He turned and walked away. His friends followed. None of them looked back. Maya sat alone in the empty common room. She picked up her tablet from where it had fallen and checked the screen for damage. It was fine. They had not thrown it hard enough to break it. She returned to her reading. Page 247. Junction points 8 through 12 of the circulatory system. Just in case. Word spread through the academy like fire through dry grass. No one knew exactly what had happened in the common room of Dormitory 7. They were not talking, but everyone could see that something had changed. X and his friends walked through the corridors with their heads down now. They did not corner anyone in empty hallways. They did not make examples of weak species. They did not even make eye contact with most of the other students. 3 days after the incident, Al received an anonymous donation that covered all of her medical expenses. A formal written apology was delivered to her dormitory. It was signed by all 4 who had attacked her. The girl did not know where the apology came from, but she had heard the rumors. Everyone had heard the rumors. The human had done something. The human had stopped them. Maya noticed the change in how people looked at her. Before, they had looked at her with fear. Now they looked at her with something else. It was still fear, but it was a different kind. The kind of fear that came with respect. The kind of fear that came with understanding. She did not like it. She had not come to this academy to be feared. She had come to prove that humans could be more than monsters. But she had also not come to watch innocent people be hurt. She kept to her usual routine: classes in the morning, studying in the afternoon, reading in the common room in the evening. She sat in the same chair by the viewport, watching the purple nebula swirl outside, and she pretended that nothing had changed. But things had changed. Other students started sitting near her in the common room. At first, it was just one or two, the small species, the vulnerable ones, the ones who had learned to flinch when larger beings walked by. They did not talk to her. They just sat nearby, reading or studying or quietly talking among themselves. Nothing bad happened when the human was around. More students came, and more. By the end of the week, the common room of Dormitory 7 was the busiest it had ever been. Species that had never spoken to each other sat side by side. Prey animals relaxed in the presence of predators. Everyone felt safe. Because Maya was there, and everyone knew that Maya protected people. One evening, about 10 days after the incident, Maya returned to her dormitory room to find someone waiting for her. It was Al, her former roommate, the who had requested a transfer after learning that her new roommate was a human. She was sitting on the empty bed that had belonged to her. Her crystal plates chimed softly as she moved. The sound was nervous, uncertain. "May I speak with you?" she asked. Maya nodded. She sat down on her own bed across from the "Of course." "I heard what you did," Al said. "For my cousin, for everyone." "Your cousin?" "Al, the one they hurt. She is my cousin." Maya remembered. The young she had helped to the medical wing. The one who had been afraid of her. The one who had asked not to be eaten. "I did not know," Maya said. "I am glad she is healing." "Because of you." Al's crystal plates chimed again. It was a complex sound, layered with emotions that the translator could not fully capture. "I requested a transfer because I was afraid of you, because of what I read in your file, because of what everyone says about humans." Maya nodded. She understood. She had always understood. "I was wrong," Al said. "I judged you by your species instead of by your actions. I let fear make my decisions for me. And because of that, I missed the chance to know someone who protects people instead of hurting them." She reached out with one delicate crystal hand. Maya looked at it for a moment. Then she reached out and took it gently in her own. Al's plates chimed again. This time the sound was warm, happy, the sound of bells on a clear morning. "I would like to request a transfer back," she said, "if you will have me." Maya smiled. She let herself smile fully this time, teeth and all, and for the first time they did not flinch. "I would like that very much," Maya said. The next day, Maya was called to the office of ambassador. He was the dean of students, an ancient who had seen 1,000 species rise and fall over his long lifetime. His serpentine body coiled around a hovering chair, and his eyes were old and wise and tired. "You have disrupted the social order of this academy," he said. "I corrected an injustice," Maya replied. "By threatening violence. By preventing it." Maya met his gaze without flinching. "They were hurting people. Your administration did nothing because their families are powerful. Someone had to do something." "Someone did nothing," said. "You sat in a chair. You pressed on some pressure points. You spoke some words. And now the most powerful family at this academy sends apologies to their victims and walks through the corridors with their heads bowed. Is that a problem?" Was quiet for a long moment. His ancient eyes studied her with an intensity that made her feel like he was looking through her skin and into her soul. "No," he said finally. "It is not a problem, it is a miracle." Maya blinked. She had expected punishment, suspension, maybe even expulsion, not this. "We have known about the situation for years," said. "We have tried everything, counseling, mediation, warnings. Nothing worked. The power imbalance was too great, and then you came along and solved the problem in 30 seconds without standing up from your chair." He uncoiled slightly, leaning forward to look at her more closely. "Your species is going to be fascinating for the galaxy to contend with," he said. "We are just people," Maya said. "We look out for each other. We look out for the ones who cannot protect themselves. That is all." "That is not all," said. "That is everything. Most species in this galaxy have forgotten how to protect the vulnerable. We have grown comfortable in our safety. We have become so civilized that we have forgotten what it means to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves." He paused, his old eyes softened. "Your species has not forgotten. Perhaps that is why the galaxy fears you, and perhaps that is why the galaxy needs you." Maya returned to her dormitory that evening, was waiting for her. She had moved back in while Maya was meeting with the dean. Her belongings were arranged neatly on her side of the room. In her hands she held 2 cups of something warm. It was a drink, similar to tea but with a lighter flavor. She offered one to Maya. "I heard you spoke with Ambassador," she said. "Is everything okay?" "Everything is fine," Maya said. She took the cup and felt the warmth spread through her fingers. "He just wanted to talk. About what you did. About what humans are." Al settled onto her bed, her crystal plates chiming softly. "And what are humans?" Maya thought about it for a moment. She thought about Earth, spinning through space billions of miles away. She thought about her ancestors, running across endless savannas, chasing prey that could not outlast them. She thought about the so confident in their power until they met something that their power could not touch. "We are survivors," she said finally. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every day of our lives, and we survived, not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being patient, by learning, by understanding, by knowing when to run and when to fight." She looked out the window at the stars. "And we protect the people we care about," she added. "No matter what it costs us, no matter who we have to face. When a human decides that something is theirs to protect, nothing in the galaxy can stop them." Al was quiet for a moment. Then her plates chimed again, warm and bright. "I am glad you came to this academy," she said. "I am glad you are my roommate." Maya turned away from the stars and smiled at her friend. "I am glad too," she said. Outside the window, the purple nebula swirled endlessly around the station. Ships came and went, carrying students and diplomats and travelers from 1,000 different worlds. The galaxy spun on, vast and ancient and full of wonders. And in a small room in Dormitory 7, a human girl from a death planet sat with her alien friend and drank tea and watched the stars. She had come to this academy to prove that humans could be more than monsters. Tonight she thought maybe she had succeeded. But if anyone threatened her people again, she would show them exactly what a monster from Earth could do. She hoped she would never have to. But she was ready if she did. Because Maya was a daughter of Earth, and daughters of Earth always protected their own.